Всех приветствую, это Укрлайф ТВ. Напоминаю, наш партнер медицинский центр «Призма» и спонсор нашего канала торговая марка Кетман. И сегодня у нас в эфире по скайпу волонтер из Соединенных Штатов Америки Сара Слимп. Поскольку Сара хоть и живет в Украине, но еще не до конца выучила украинский язык, то мы будем общаться с ней на английском. И поэтому I greet you, Sarah, in our interview. Unfortunately, it's not studio, but I guess it's much more convenient. So please, Sarah, tell me, why does a person from the United States of America came to Ukraine? What are you doing here? And what are those processes on your background? I bet our viewers will ask much more questions on what is going on.
Yes, absolutely. And I'll say I apologize if there are trucks in the background. I'm on a site in Nova Buda. But yeah, I actually came to Ukraine. I've been to Ukraine a couple of times, primarily with my father. He has been working here over the last 2 decades and introduced me to Ukraine and to some incredible people that I have come to know and love. And the first time I came here was 2015, and I've been following a lot of what's been going on since the start of 2014, especially. It was a place that my dad would go to on weeks on end throughout the year. And I think I always had a draw to kind of understand why he was here and what he was doing. And so he introduced us to Ukraine. And I was really moved by the people that I met and the community, that even though I was a foreigner and didn't speak the language, people had always been so welcoming to me and always greeted me with kindness. And so then I came back again in 2018, and I was working at a camp in the Black Sea in Pokrovka, I believe. And I was working with kids from Donetsk and Donbass who had suffered PTSD from the ongoing war. And I was really upset that a lot of Americans weren't really tuned in and following what was going on. And so I brought that back with me, and I was able to raise some money, around $20,000, to fund a couple more sessions. And that was kind of my background to why I'm here today. And I was sitting in class and reading everything that was going on, especially February 24th. And I felt almost a call to action to do something, because I knew that I could. And so I convinced my dad to bring me over here. And everything's been kind of learn as you go. I founded an NGO called Project Adapt, with the mission and hope to help everybody that I could. And I know I can't fix large problems, but maybe I can make a small impact. So I've been traveling all over Ukraine. I started in Lviv. I went to Ternopil. I've been down to Kropyvnytsi, and Kryvyi Rih, including Kyiv, and where I am now, Nova Buda. And basically what I've been doing is trying to understand what are the needs here and how I or Americans back home can help, whether that's being here and actually tearing down walls, or being back home and being able to send food boxes throughout Ukraine. So that's a little summary kind of why I'm here and what I'm doing.
And how do you feel about it? Well, Ukraine is not the safest place on earth right now, and well, I guess there should be a lot of concerns and other feelings on what are you doing here, why are you risking your life, and it's obviously there is always a risk here right now, and I bet that lots of your friends from America are worried about you, like what are you doing here in Ukraine? You should be back home in USA, where it's actually much more safer than in Ukraine. So how do you reason your staying here? Is it just for your idealism of some kind of way, or it's something much more deeper?
I've been told I'm a little crazy that I've been here by Americans and also by people that I've met. There was a family in Kropyvnytsi that said, I took my children out of Ukraine. Why are you here? And why is your father letting you come here? And that was definitely taken into consideration when coming over here. We've definitely done what we can to be as safe as possible, to prepare and to have a little, emergency kits in case anything happens. But we're definitely cautious. But I think I see the courage of the Ukrainian people And that also gives me almost inspiration to be courageous myself. I've met so many different people that have fled and have come back, and they've said, you know, we just wanted to be home. We just wanted to be with our community. And I think hearing them talk about the risks that they've taken and coming back, that's inspired me to push forward. I also have a tendency to run towards trouble instead of away. And I think that just comes from my family and always encouraging me to continue forward. But I think at the end of the day, anything that you want to do takes risk. And so I think being as prepared as possible and also knowing the difference between normal risk and dangerous risk is also important when being here.
So it seems you became as brave as Ukrainian.
I'm trying. I'm definitely taking what I've learned from people here and trying to implement that in my life. I think that's something that I've always known about Ukrainian people, and everybody that I've met has always been just so resilient and almost indestructible. And so I think seeing firsthand now what they've had to deal with is, or as close as I can be to understand. You know, I'll never truly understand what it's like, but I can try as hard as I can, and I can also then take that with me and try to implement that in what I'm doing.
It seems to me that you have much more experience, as you said, firsthand on what is going on, especially somewhere outside major cities. For example, like me sitting in Kyiv, I have not seen the immense destructions somewhere right near Kyiv, like in Irpin or Bucha, which are the famous cities right now throughout the world. And what is the most, I don't know, intense experience which you have seen in Ukraine? Because as I said, not that many people in Ukraine, not all of them are directly traumatized by war. Not every house was destroyed, especially when we are talking about western cities and Kyiv itself. So what can you tell us for Ukrainians about how things are going on somewhere in the countryside, for example, in that village which are you situated right now?
Absolutely. So I was actually just in Irpin and Bucha right, you know, a couple of days ago actually, and I think for me what makes me most emotional is seeing buildings that are completely okay and fine, and then right next door there can be something that's totally demolished, or they've lost the roof, or they've lost just a room. And it's heartbreaking to see also, and understanding that this is not, for the majority of times, it's just randomized, and you know, you don't get to, I guess, like pick and choose in a way. So I'm in Nova Buda right now, which is about 100 kilometers from Kyiv. You have to go through Bucha and Irpin to get here. And this has definitely been the most devastating. It's a small village of about 400 people that before the war, they were already working diligently to get by. And now they have to restart their whole life. And these are places that have been here since this house that is behind me was built in 1964. And luckily they still have their summer kitchen, but they lost their garage, their house, and all of their belongings. I met a woman down the street when we were going through the city or the town and kind of trying to get an understanding of the people and who they are. And there was a woman, I walked up and she just started immediately crying when she showed us where her house was. And she pulled up 2 pieces of metal and said, "This is my sewing machine. I would create clothing for people in my village, for older people especially, and now I can't do that. And this is all that's left of that." And it almost brought me to tears because I was just heartbroken knowing that what she really cared about was her sewing machine. And luckily enough, we were able to go and try and get her a new one. Probably not the same one that she had, but we were just moved by these people's stories. And so I think what's really important to understand is just staying in tune to what's going on, and going out and seeing it is definitely different than hearing it on the news or reading it as well. And so I think it's even hard to put into words what to know, because it's so randomized. And despite that, the people are so welcoming and giving. And while we've been here tearing down walls at this house, the family was continuously bringing us food and asking what we needed. And I said, no, like, I don't want to take anything from you. We just want to do what we can to make an impact.
I see that to become a volunteer, it requires a specific mindset, but it's actually interesting to meet like how this experience changed you personally. What have you discovered about this world being so far away from your home, and how did Ukraine change you?
Yeah, I think it's definitely been a development. I think overall, Ukraine has made such an important impact on my life and taught me so many different things, like I've talked about on this call: resilience, and also humbleness, and just being grateful for even just being alive. There was a family in Kropyvnytsky that we said, what do you need? We want to help with anything. Is there anything that you're missing? And they said, we're just happy to be alive. We've lost everything, and you can cry and cry again about it, but we're just, so grateful for what we do have. And so I think that mindset of shifting from being upset to what you lost to being grateful for what you have is something that I definitely want to take back home with me, and especially just kind of spread that awareness back home. But a lot of what I've learned is just resilience and pushing through despite, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't know what will happen in 2 months or even 2 years, but staying resilient and almost having this indestructible mindset, I think, is something that I will always carry with me. And I still have so much to learn. I don't think my learning or education has stopped since I've been here, and I, going forward, know that I will continue to learn. But I think what's changed me most are the people, and hearing their stories and bringing that back with me to help impact other people if they can't come to Ukraine.
From what I hear, it sounds like you have learned the importance of living through the moment right now, and valuing your life, your family, your close ones at the moment, because, well, you can lose them, and it's always unexpected how it happens. But still, it seems that we are carrying on, and what I think is the most important part of Ukrainian mindset is to still have some sense of humor and sense of hospitality. It was always like a running joke in Ukraine that Americans do not know geography, and when they are asked about where is Ukraine, they haven't know the concrete answer. So it's like, have it changed for average Americans to know what is Ukraine, where it is situated? Because when the war started, I remember in March that people were joking, like people 10 years ago didn't know what is Kiev, but right now they know about like districts, Obolon, Bucha, Irpin, and so on. So, but how it's actually in reality going on? Is Ukraine still a hot topic in Western world? Do people still discuss and try to find a way to help Ukraine, or is it something like a weariness from this war, like people distracted on their everyday routine tasks and so on? So what has changed with the image of Ukraine in the United States from your experience?
I thought it was funny that you mentioned the tidbit about average Americans not really knowing or understanding where Ukraine is, but now Ukraine's been put on the map. I think for some people that's definitely the case. So I thought that was kind of funny that you said that. But I definitely think a little bit of war fatigue has been starting to settle in. I think it's been about 4 months since the war, and February 24th, it was the front page of every paper. Now you have to, go through a couple pages and it's on the back of page 6, which is definitely frustrating, especially being here and seeing the continuous impact, and that it hasn't stopped or slowed down, but other things are now starting to get put into people's minds, especially in the US. We have a lot going on right now, and it doesn't take away from the importance, but it's becoming to seem like that, at least for me. And that's something that I definitely want to impact when I come back. And even just for my friends, I'm able to say, hey, this is what I'm doing, and there's still air raid alarms going off. And just because it may not seem as hot right now, it doesn't mean that it's still not like such a devastating situation, war going on. And so I think that's something that I want to combat while I'm here and bring that home with me. Part of what I'm doing is also capturing stories and images to bring back home to show people. And I think also, at least my friends and people that I know, they have this image of kind of what's been going on, and they have these assumptions, but they don't have the right news sources to understand that that's not necessarily the case. They, I think, kind of think about February 24th and think that's still the situation, where it's changed and grown over the last couple months. And that's something that's I want to combat and bring back to show the world and say, hey, you know, they're still fighting, they're still going on. Just because it's been 4 months doesn't mean it's ceased or not grown or, you know, diminished the importance of what's going on here.
Can you tell more about the impact of your volunteering? What have you achieved? What do you plan to achieve? And tell us more about your organization, Project Adapt, if I heard you right.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's called Project Adapt, and Adapt is the name, I think, kind of like I mentioned, because things are continuously adapting, and you know what somebody needs one day may not be the same needs they have the second day, and that's definitely something I have grown to appreciate. And so before I came here, I raised around $30,000 in order to distribute in different ways. And I'm 21. I'm just starting my career, and I don't know the answers to everything yet, and I can't solve, you know, an entire problem, but I'm hoping, and I've been trying to make small impacts to hopefully create long-lasting change. So, for example, I worked I toured in Ternopil with some heads of city council, city government, and they showed me their different projects, what they were doing and what they were hoping to achieve with IDPs, or internally displaced persons of the war. And one of the places that impacted me was a shelter that one of the men was building and working on, and he was hoping that we could help fund that. And so what we did was we bought construction tools for IDPs to be hired to use, and then work on the shelter, and also create space in the back for them to complete more work. And that is something that I've enjoyed seeing progress over the last couple of days. I saw some photos recently that they posted of them with the construction tools, and they were having people work on the shelters to create more space. And it's impacts like that where it's not just funding one thing, but it's funding a whole process of things that can happen and occur. So because of those construction tools, then they're able to hire IDPs who need jobs or looking for jobs to then create more space for people to live there. And so it's things like that that I've tried to focus on in long-term impacts, but still small pieces. And like we're doing here is we're helping tear down this home so then they can rebuild sooner, and hopefully before winter, before it's really cold. And so our goal is immediate, tangible impacts that hopefully can make a long-lasting impact.
Effect on society.
Exactly. But then at the same time, we're also helping create food boxes and fund food programs while we've been here, so then they can be distributed out. And we're still looking to figure out how, when I'm back home, to continue to make an impact here. One of the things we're looking at is supply food chains here in Ukraine. And a lot of Americans now think that you have to send food through Poland, through the border. So they buy food in Poland. They then have to get it through the border, which can take, 4 days to a week. And then from there, they have to get it to the east, which makes absolutely no sense when you should be buying food in Ukraine, supporting Ukrainians and the Ukrainian economy, and distributing it from there. So one of the benefits of us being here is we're able to discover that for donors who want to help and make an impact, but they're not doing it in the most effective way. So we're able to be here and say, hey, here is a program. Here's their food, here's what you should buy, where you should buy it, and then this is the route that they take to distribute it either to the front lines or to other places in Ukraine that some people aren't able to reach. And so even just doing that research as well makes an impact on bigger donors back home who want to help but aren't sure how to do it, or they're not doing it in the most effective way, or in the way that really benefits Ukraine the most.
And I guess now will be the most terrifying question for a person who is 21-year-old. What are your plans for future? What are you wanted to do later on? Do you want to stay here in Ukraine and help people there later on, or do you want to return to USA and find some ways to help people from Ukraine abroad? Or maybe you have something else on your mind?
Yeah, well, it's definitely something that I want to continue. I am going to be returning in the next week back home because I have to finish one more year of university at Tulane University down in Louisiana. So I have one more year and I am studying political economy. And my hope is that I can come back here, hopefully, whether that's next summer or in the future at some point, to continue what I've been doing. I've met some incredible people and have been able to also connect people within Ukraine, and I want to be able to follow through and come back and see how it's developed. I want to grow what I'm doing with Project Adapt. I think it's really important, and right now it's really unique just in a way where my goal for the organization is to help what's going on. So if I go back to Louisiana and there's a hurricane, natural disaster, which we have almost at least twice a year, if there's a way that I can then adapt Project Adapt to help with disaster relief, food relief in response to a natural disaster like that, that's my goal. But I definitely plan to return as soon as possible. And I've definitely already taken what I've learned here and been able to use that in school to teach other people and even develop my understanding of food policy here and agriculture. And that's been interesting to now see firsthand. I've taken what I've learned this past semester in a global food economy class, and I did a project on Ukraine, and now I'm able to actually see what I've been studying. So future plans, develop what I'm doing right now, and return as soon as I finish school.
It's actually interesting how you have mentioned that, well, while our experience is actually a unique one, but it can be still applied universally. It can become a valuable lesson even for America, like you said, after the impact of hurricanes in Louisiana especially. And we remember how it was 10, 15 years ago. There are many devastating hurricanes. So, well, it seems that still Ukraine has made an worldwide impact because it has taught the world so much, and I'm actually glad that you are one of the person who will spread our knowledge throughout the world. Well, thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. And I think there was one of the women who was here might have wanted to say a few words if you were interested in that. I'm not quite sure if you have the time or not.
Well, if she wants to speak us, who are we to forbid her?
Okay, 1 second. Let me just go get her really quick. She's right here.
Мене звати Ірина, я жила в цьому будинку, будинок наразі навіть згорів, тому що на нашій території велися дуже активні бойові дії. Наше село невеличке, але нас дуже багато пострадало будинків. На сьогоднішній день, дякую Сарі і родині, вони допомагають нам прибирати завали, розчищати. Ми вивезли дуже багато машин згорівшого сміття. З будинку зараз продовжуються наші роботи, розчищуючи. У нас дуже багато людей потребує допомоги, тому що дуже багато в такій самій ситуації, як я. У нас в своєму селі 45 будинків повністю згоріли. 18 будинків, які зруйновані на 50%. Також досить велика цифра. Майже 200 будинків, в яких пошкоджені дахи та вікна. Для людей це велика втрата.
Але я бачу, що ви продовжуєте відбудовувати і з таким певним оптимізмом дивитися на майбутнє, і що щось відновлюється, щось знову будується.
Так, звичайно, ми з оптимізмом, тому що треба продовжувати жити. У нас родина, всі сподіваються, що все буде на краще. Ми завжди з оптимізмом. Треба продовжувати жити.
І добре, що вам допомагає Сара з Америки щось відбудовувати.
Це взагалі для нас. Це велике дякую, велике thank you very much. За допомогу.
Отже, дякуємо вам за ваші слова. Thank you, Sarah. And
Yes, thank you so much.
here we will end our interview and we will continue with our live streams. І ми продовжуємо наші інтерв'ю на Укрвайфі. До нових зустрічей.
Okay.